It's waifu time, and you know what that means? It's Moondrop time. And in this video, I'm looking at the Moondrop Blessing 3 IEMs. Let's get it. What's cracking, audio fans? It's David here from Prime Audio Reviews. So let me start off with the price of the Blessing 3. The price is $320. This is a 6-driver IEM. It's got dual dynamic drivers, so it's got 2 dynamic drivers and 4 balanced armature drivers. That is the box. Waifu intact, and as usual, you get your frequency response graph on the back. I don't know why Moondrop tends to like these especially big boxes, but there's not a whole lot in there except for the IEMs there, this carrying case, and a few air tips. So here they are. We'll have a look at the shells in a minute. We'll start with the cable. It is pretty generic, silver-plated copper cable. It handles pretty nicely. Doesn't have microphonics or anything. It doesn't tangle too much. It feels a little bit less premium than the Kato cable. I don't know why, just because I guess I just like thick cables. They feel more hefty and premium to me, but this, nevertheless, this is a good one. And it just has standard 0.78mm 2-pin connectors. I think these shells look really nice, quite beautiful actually. You can see the balanced armature drivers there and the dual dynamic drivers in the back. The shells themselves are about average in size, I'd say. They're not bulky at all. And the nozzles, which I think people had some issues with the Blessing 2 because the nozzles were quite wide in diameter. These are pretty standard, so you shouldn't have any troubles. And speaking of the Blessing 2, I'm guessing that a lot of people watching this video will be waiting for the comparison with the Blessing 2. And if that's you, you could probably stop watching now, because I've actually never heard the Blessing 2 and I certainly haven't reviewed it. How did that happen? I don't know. Review world, Chi-Fi world, it's a wonderful, crazy thing. So I've never actually heard the Blessing 2, but here we are with the Blessing 3, and we're going to get right into how it sounds. Now, it's a pretty efficient IEM. It doesn't require any special amplification. It should run fine out of a phone, although I wouldn't know because I have a stupid iPhone. It doesn't have a 3.5mm headphone jack, but regardless, I've tried it with several sources. It doesn't require too much power. Now, what struck me first of all about the Blessing 3, it's much more musical than I was expecting. I don't know why, just mainly because of the higher price. But I was expecting it to be sort of more technically orientated and analytical in its presentation. But I think it's even warmer and smoother than like the Kato and the Aria. But basically, I would describe the Blessing 3's sound signature as musical and balanced. It's not anywhere near as dry as I was expecting. On the contrary, it excels in expression and engagement, and it's got this really nice tonality that I can listen to all day without feeling fatigued. Let's throw up the graph now, and we'll start with the bass. Blessing 3's bass has great control. It's got nice amount of authority. It's powerful, yet it's reserved in quantity, and it definitely never intrudes on the mid-range. It's certainly not a bass head IEM, but the quality of the bass is outstanding. Bass notes are well defined, but still perfectly rounded, so they sound very natural. And natural is a word that I'm going to be using a lot today, and we'll get to why in a minute. But the sub bass has a nice commanding rumble. It digs deep, it doesn't distort. Kick drums have got a nice clean but satisfying thump and a bit of slam there. Bass guitars sound textured and layered. It's easy to distinguish between bass guitars and drums in the bass. It's a really nice bass. It might be too demure for some listeners looking for more overall impact, or if you're a bass head, these won't quite fill that role for you, but for me, perfect. Onto the mid-range, and in a word, stunning. It's textured, it's full of grit, yet at the same time it's very smooth, and most of all it is natural sounding. These IEMs sound so natural and tonally accurate to me. The tone and timbre is just outstanding, and I love the texture in the bass and the texture in the mid-range as well. But at the same time, it's a bit of a dichotomy because overall I find these super smooth to listen to. Male vocals are rich, female vocals are sultry but vibrant, and both have excellent clarity and tonality. Instruments also sound fantastic, and the end result is this beautiful, engaging mid-range expression. And now for the treble. I would say the treble is kind of neutral. It's crisp and clear. It does have a nice hint of sparkle and abundant air that blends perfectly with the overall presentation. While it's not the most precise or the detailed treble, it is musical and it harmonizes flawlessly with the mid-range, making it a perfect choice for those who prioritize naturalness and tonality. And finally, let's talk about the stage and the technical performance. The soundstage is both wide and deep, and it's infused with a generous amount of air as well. This gives it a nice spacious sound, which is enhanced further by good overall resolution and good instrument separation. But despite all this, the detail retrieval is kind of average, which was a bit of a surprise to me. Like, micro details are not that evident as they are in even a lot of cheaper IEMs, and maybe even the Kato, I would say, in some cases has better micro details than the Blessing. And that is a result of targeting that more natural tonality over absolute precision. Okay, now let's do a couple of comparisons, and we will start with the Zen's Mangird T2. So the T2 is a 7-driver IEM. It's got 1 dynamic and 6 balanced armatures, and it has the T2 has less sub bass weight, but a little bit more upper bass quantity. In addition, it's got a slightly crisper slam on kick drums. So I would say the definition, or at least the attack on kick drums, is a little bit better defined on the T2. The T2's upper mid-range is brighter, and it really brings vocals to the forefront with added clarity and air. People sensitive to sort of shouty upper mids will likely feel more at ease with the Blessing 3. It's a similar story with the T2's treble. It's brighter and has more energy compared to the B3, and this is kind of due to the T2 having a similar treble extension but less bass quantity to counterbalance. The Zen's has a wider stage with roughly the same amount of depth as the Blessing, and furthermore the T2 has slightly more micro detail retrieval, whereas the Blessing 3 is more laid back in its presentation. I would say, look, the detail retrieval, they're not worlds apart, definitely. They're fairly close. The T2 just picks up a little bit extra micro details. And next up, we'll go with the Raptgo Hook X. Now, the Hook X it's a dual driver IEM. It's got a planar magnetic driver, and it's got a piezoelectric. So if you like a fuller bass or more full-bodied bass, you will appreciate the Hook X's more powerful lows. It has better separation between the bass and the lower mid-range than the Blessing 3. The Hook X's mid-range has got more clarity and better resolution. It's just mainly due to the driver configuration. Planar magnetic and piezo, they're both sort of very precise and fast drivers. However, the B3's tone is more natural. In addition, the upper mids contrast more heavily on the Hook X, and some instruments like the upper registers of pianos sound sharper and they resonate in your head a bit more on the Raptgo. And the Raptgo's treble is more upfront as well, creating sharper attacks on percussion instruments and more acute transients throughout. The Hook X has a wider stage and better instrument separation. Overall, the Raptgo sounds, maybe a little bit more dynamic and upfront. But once again, the Blessing 3 has more naturalness, a less aggressive tonality, and it's just smooth as butter. But all three of these IEMs are really fantastic. I would have a hard choice choosing one if I had to choose one for my daily driver. Very tough decision. I don't know, but fortunately I don't have to make that decision. That is the Moondrop Blessing 3. So in conclusion, I love it. I love these. I think they're fantastic. They're just amazing. Not the most detailed, but very, very natural sounding, very fun and engaging. Not for bass heads. Gorgeous build, and overall, yeah, highly recommended. So guys, let me know what you think about the Blessing 3. Have you heard it? Are you going to get it? And yeah, let's wrap it up. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, give it the thumbs up, Parfam audiophile style. If you're new to the channel or if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And until next time, I'll see you later.